evening and a warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Shaina Alia. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Strong economic revival anticipated in Sri Lanka, ADB predicts. Sri Lanka focuses on China's support for investment, Prime Minister claims. News in detail. The Asian Development Outlook 2021 predicts a strong recovery in Sri Lanka's economy as domestic and global economic activity strengthens. According to ADB, Sri Lanka's economy is expected to expand at a rate of 4.1% in 2021 and then to a moderate of 3.6% in 2022 with private investments and consumption recovery. According to Manila-based lender's flagship Asian Development Outlook, low interest rates and ample liquidity will boost consumption and investment in Sri Lanka. The outlook also claimed that while the pent-up demand is released, growth would benefit in the short term from increased private consumption. The statement highlighted that the progress on the Colombo Port City Special Economic Zone as well as growth in the Hambantota Industrial Zone is projected to encourage foreign direct investment. ADB senior country economist for Sri Lanka, Utsav Kumar, stated that Sri Lanka faces major economic difficulties as a result of high public debt and the need for external financing. He also added that attracting non-debt creating capital inflows, improving domestic tax mobilization and managing expenditures would be vital in reducing vulnerabilities. Annual average inflation is expected to remain at 4.5% in 2021 before rising to 5% in 2022, supported by base effects of high food inflation in 2020 and strong agricultural expansion. In 2021, the current account deficit is forecasted to fall to 1.1% of GDP, while the exports are expected to rise as demand in global export market recovers. Accordingly, the imports will rise as domestic demand and oil prices increase, but continued import restrictions will likely restrict expansion. The outlook, on the other hand, revealed that Sri Lanka faces macroeconomic risks. According to ADB, Sri Lanka's difficult macroeconomic condition will possibly moderate development in 2022. According to the data from the State Debt Office, Sri Lanka sold 29.89 billion rupees of Treasury bills at a price-controlled auction yesterday. A rollover auction held recently for 750 million of Sri Lanka development bonds were also undersubscribed by 12% as the central bank accepted bids worth $652.6 million. The price-controlled auction of bills worth 45 billion rupees saw a big boost with more offers coming in for 3-month bills. 3-month bills worth 24.08 billion rupees were trading at 5.11%, up from 1 basis point after being offered for 9 billion rupees. After offering 18 billion rupees, 4.03 billion rupees of 6-month bills were offered at 5.14% with an increase of 1 basis point. While offering 18 billion rupees, 1.775 billion rupees of 12-month bills were offered at 5.18% as the price limit. Over the past year, the central bank took some unsold bills above the price limit of printed money, resulting in surplus supply, low interest rates, a balance of payment deficit, currency inflation, and credit downgrades. However, the central bank now holds the majority of the unpaid bills totaling 893 billion rupees, and their rollover causes no new monetary uncertainty. Following the receipt of a $500 million loan from China, the central bank sold down approximately 10 billion rupees of bills in the previous 2 auctions. According to Media Minister Kehlia Rambukwala, climate change should be given special consideration when achieving sustainable development goals. He made these remarks participating in a press briefing on climate activities held yesterday. Minister Kehlia Rambukwala stated that the government has now put in place a scheme to protect the environment and pass it on to future generations in a sustainable manner. The minister further emphasized that the President's Saubhagya Dakam policy includes the requisite policies for environmental protection and sustainable development. He also said that climate change would have an effect on the country's economy both directly and indirectly. As a result, Minister stated that the government has paid attention to this issue and that a pilot initiative will also be launched to teach citizens about environmental protection.
පුනර්ජීවන බලශක්තිය අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා 20යි 30 වෙනකොට 70%ක් මේ තත්ත්වයට ගෙන පරිසරයට ඉතාමත්ම හිතකාමී. ඒ නිසා එවැනි කරුණු සම්බන්ධව අවධානය යොමු කිරීම පමණක් නෙමෙයි ඉලක්ක සහගතව මේ වැඩපිළිවෙළවල් ඉදිරියට ගෙනෙන්න. ඒ බාධා තියෙනවා. ඒ බාධා සමහරක් විට බාධා ඉවත් කරන්න ගියාම ඒ තරම් ප්‍රසාදයකට ලක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. తాවකාලිකව. හැබැයි ඒක කරන්න ආත්ම ශක්තියක් තියෙන්නට ඕනේ.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break.
This is one way of showing convenience, and MySLT is just another name for convenience. Services here, there, and everywhere. Now brought onto MySLT. Access all of SLT Mobitel services through one app. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
Textorium Ankano Navia, Killing Vidia, Kulambicula.
Welcome back after the break. China's Defence Minister General Wei Feng met with the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday as Sri Lanka seeks Chinese assistance in combating COVID-19 and attracting investments. Speaking at the meeting, Prime Minister Rajapaksa assures that the Sri Lankan government had opted not to pursue countrywide lockdowns. During the conference, Prime Minister thanked China for donating 600,000 doses of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines and personal protective equipment to Sri Lanka to aid in the war against the pandemic. He went on to say that one of the government's main priorities in this effort was to attract investments from all over the world. The Prime Minister told China's Defence Minister that Sri Lanka welcomes China's assistance in reviving investor interest in the island. During the session, the Sri Lankan delegation, led by Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne, had a successful discussion with the Chinese delegation led by General Feng. The Chinese Defence Minister also unveiled the official website of the Chinese National Defence University Alumni Association of Sri Lanka.
We look forward to China's continued support in dealing with this crisis. Our government has decided not to pursue countrywide lockdowns due to the impact such lockdowns have on our economy and society. I am sure you agree that there is still a lot that needs to be done for the post-pandemic economic recovery. One of our main priorities in this effort is to attract investment from around the world. I look forward to your support in rebuilding investor confidence in Sri Lanka.
The Chinese delegation of 37 high-ranking officials led by Defence Minister General Wei Feng departed Sri Lanka this morning successfully, concluding a two-day state visit. The Chinese Defence Minister also met Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa for bilateral discussions strengthening the relations between the two countries. The Chinese Defence Minister and the Sri Lankan President discussed about strengthening bilateral ties, including defence cooperation and post-pandemic economic recovery. Emphasizing the two countries' current military links, General Wei said that China is excited to collaborate with Sri Lanka to strengthen functional cooperation and foster bilateral relations to a greater extent. President Rajapaksa on Twitter posted that he had a worthwhile conversation with China Defence Minister General Wei Feng. To commemorate the meeting with the President, China's Defence Minister General Wei Feng wrote a note in the book for special guests. General Wei is the second high-ranking Chinese official to visit the island nation since the COVID-19 pandemic began, followed by Director of the Central Commission for Foreign Affairs Yang Jishai visit to Colombo in October of last year. Senior lecturer Anuruddha P. Karunasuriya alleges that the government is fully responsible for the third wave COVID-19 pandemic as they gave a false message to the general public that the threat is over. Addressing media briefing arranged by the 3rd Brigade led by parliamentarian Partly Champika Ranawaka, the senior lecturer, also charged that the government was getting ready for an election.
අලුත් අවුරුදු උත්සවය එළඹෙමින් තිබුණා. ඒ වගේම තමයි එහෙම අලුත් අවුරුදු උත්සවය එළඹෙමින් තියෙන අවස්ථාවේ රජය මොකද කරමින් හිටියේ? අපි කවුරුත් දන්නවා. ඒක සැඟවිය යුතු කාරණයක් නෙවෙයි. රජය සූදානම් වෙමින් හිටියේ මැතිවරණයක් සඳහා. ඒක දේශපාලන ශාස්ත්‍රයේ සියලුම දෙනා දැනගෙන හිටියා. රජයේ උත්සාහයක් තියෙනවා කියලා පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණය ඉතා ඉක්මනින් කඳවන්න. ඒක සඳහා රජය මහා මාර්ග හදමින් හිටියා. ඒ කියන්නේ මහා මාර්ග අලුත් වැඩි කිරීමේ ලක්ෂයක් මහා මාර්ග හදන ව්‍යාපෘතියකට ගිහින් තිබුණා. අනිත් පැත්තට රජය හදිස්සි ඒ කියන්නේ කොරෝනා තත්ත්වය විසඳමින් තියෙනවායි කියන අදහස් සමාජයට ඇති කරන්න විශාල උත්සාහයක් ගනිමින් තිබුණා. පාසල් ආරම්භ කළා, ටියුෂන් ආරම්භ කළා, ලදරු පාසල් දක්වා සියලුම දේවල් ආරම්භ කරමින් ඊටම කඩිමුඩියේ ඔබට මතක ඇති අලුත් අවුරුද්ද එළඹෙන්න සුමාන දෙකක් තියදී පාසල් ආරම්භ කළා. ඒ කියන්නේ රට ඊටම සාමාන්‍යයි කියලා පෙන්වන්න. එහෙම ආරම්භ කළා මහජනයාගේ යම් බයක් තිබුණා නම් මේ රෝගය පිළිබඳව ඒ බය සහ මුලින්ම නැති කරලා දැම්මා. යනු රජය පැත්තේ අද රජය සමහරු කියනවා නෑ මේ මහජනයාගේ වැරද්ද කියලා. මහජනයාගේ වැරද්ද නෙමෙයි. මහජනයාට විශාල අදහසක් දුන්නා. අර පසුගිය මහමැතිවරණයේදීත් ඒ වගේමයි අපි දැක්කේ. විශාල අදහසක් දුන්නා. රෝගේ පාලනය වෙමින් තියෙන්නේ කොරෝනා ඉවරයි. ඒ අනුව සාමාන්‍ය ජන ජීවිතය ගත කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන අදහස සමාජයට දුන්නා.
Stay tuned for stock updates.
This is one way of showing convenience, and MySLT is just another name for convenience. Services here, there, and everywhere. Now brought onto MySLT. Access all of SLT Mobitel services through one app. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
විශේෂ අවශ්‍යතා සහ සුවිශේෂී දක්ෂතා ඇති උපකාර අත්‍යවශ්‍ය දරුවන්ට මුළු මහත් රටක දිරිය දෙමින් ඔවුන්ගේ වාසනාවට හේතුවක් වෙන එකම ලුතරැය.
දරු දිරි සම්පත හේතු වාසනා වේවා.
Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The share price index dropped by minus 23.24 points to close at 7,216.70, and the S&P SL20 dropped by minus 16.48 points to close at 2,862.32. The turnover was 2.5 billion rupees and over 100 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. And that's all news for today. See you tomorrow at State of Business at the usual time. Until then, take care and good night.